What screams I am a terrible person? Abusing animals. Absolutely my first pick. If you abuse animals, you are unequivocally a cowardly piece of shit. For me, it's intentionally abusing animals. Now hear me out. I don't condone animals abuse at all. But I'm not gonna hold it against someone who has a goldfish in a case or hamster in a critter trail without additives if they were really young or were very trusting of pet store employee advice. Now if they're educated but then brush it off or don't care, then yeah. Not gonna like them. But if they realize the harm they did and make the steps to do better or feel regret, then I'll consider them a good person. Walking around a store or public place playing music on a Bluetooth speaker full blast. Try walking around blasting the audio from a football game. At a museum. While ignoring your children as they dart all over the place. Making your children upset in order to record it and post it for internet points. Exactly. This is why I try not to spend too much time on the internet. Also, it became so popular to do that Jimmy Kimmel did a Halloween prank like that. Being rude to retail food workers. As a fast food restaurant worker for 8 years. I cannot stress enough how easy it is to be nice to someone. Or to not yell and complain to an employee about issues out of their control. Like the company raising prices. I've been yelled at. And I mean yelled at because our meals went up 10 cents. Like I just work here, sir, ma'am. I do not control pricing. Call up corporate and yell at them. That's just one thing. There are so many other things that people do to the workers that really isn't right. And they know damn well they would not appreciate being spoken to that way at their jobs. You have one of those Calvin pissing on bumper stickers. This and those plastic testicles some folks hang from their truck hitch. Changing lanes without signaling or looking. And doing it slowly on top of that. I can't stand it when people just mosey on over. Parents that force their kids to make sacrifices so that they can live the life that they want. Currently pissed at my ex-aunt because of this. She literally takes money from her 2 kids, ages 13 and 15, and never repays them. She makes enough to pay the bills. And gets child support to boot. But she blows so much money on random vacations. Weekend excursions. etc. constantly. So she gets short on money and asks to borrow money her kids have saved for themselves to pay the bills. The 13-year-old earned $200 this summer by mowing yards. His mom took it all. The 15-year-old partially financed a trip she and her mom took to the beach. My uncle, her ex-husband, is hella pissed about it all as well. And already has started savings accounts for both that their mom doesn't know about because he knows she'll demand access and drain it. Ex-aunt is always preaching kindness and treating people well on social media. Then takes money from her teenagers on the regular. Infuriating. Men who take off the condom during sex. And women who fake being on birth control. Parking over 2 spaces. A terrible person in the midst of self-discovery. Being rude to people in the service industry. It's like they forget that servers, wait staff, hostesses etc. are everyday people just trying to make a living. Just because they're serving you doesn't mean you're elevated to the status of kings and queens and deserved everything just because you want it. Feeling like you having a bad experience justifies you putting others through that same thing. Not admitting when they are wrong. Constant excuse or finger point instead of saying I was wrong. Conversely, never accepting it when someone admits they were wrong. This is infuriating to the nth degree. Cheating on your spouse. My brother-in-law has 3 kids with my sister and has always had at least one girlfriend. When my sister found out, he asked if there was any way she could make it work with him having a girlfriend. She asked him how he did it. His response was, "You have to know how to play the game. And I'm f***ing good. Coward." As a white guy who is often perceived straight by strangers, I'll occasionally have other white people do that thing where they think you're racist, sexist, homophobic too. They'll say or do something offensive and give you that look like you understand. You're part of the club. Or they think you're a safe person to confide offensive thoughts with. It upsets me because they probably have a good number of people who do reciprocate. Pulling out the old ad hominem when something makes them uncomfortable, attacking their character rather than the argument itself. I see this at an alarming rate. Wearing a mask, but not covering your nose. Yesterday I was walking through the hospital where I work and I passed another employee whose mask was down around her neck. I said, "Oh, hey, your mask," as a gentle reminder. The BTCH replied, "Yeah, I've got it." So I retorted, "But it's not on your face." I'm still fking pissed. Refusing to wear a mask in public is the #1 indicator nowadays. Anyone who says hurtful things makes wildly inappropriate jokes. Then later when confronted, deny anything happened. Skipping lines. Or trying to get into public transport while not everyone is out yet. Simon Sinek had a TED Talk where he gave an anecdote about seeing a line of marathon runners waiting in line for a bagels after their run. And he didn't like the idea of waiting. So he went right to the table with the bagels and cut someone to get 2 bagels, and it was supposed to be an example of not following the rules and making you a good leader. It just made me think he was a douchebag for not waiting in line like a courteous person. Being racist and then jokingly pretend you aren't racist. Being mean to children. It's why I stopped listening to Joe Rogan and Brendan Schaub. They wore their masks in public, but they downplayed this global pandemic and admonished and ridiculed people for wearing face masks. Calling people following safety protocols pussies and bitches. Some folks might think that's not serious, but these two morons have a huge audience of impressionable 18-25 years olds who genuinely listen to their words and opinions. So their influence is pretty significant. Cheating and being constantly hypocritical. Left lane campers. I watched a video about how driving only in the left lane increases accidents, and now I make sure I'm getting back into that right lane after passing. All my ex-girlfriends are crazy. If I ever have a daughter, I won't let her date until she's 25. I know what men are like. Double quote. Well, now we know what you are like. Someone walking as slow as possible in a crowded hallway where you can't get around them. Those horizontal lines of friends walking at a snail's pace in the hallway between classes were the worst in high school. Passing period is barely long enough to speed walk from one corner of the school to the other. Stop slowing me down or I'm gonna be tardy. Pouring milk before cereal. I put in the cereals first, but when milk is left over and I want to go for a second portion, I add the milk before the cereals. Owning displaying anything with the Confederate flag. Bragging about or recording the selfless deeds you did. OMG yes. I went to high school with this girl. Let's call her Kate Toner. And she made a huge sign that said Kate Toner loves you and went around Seattle and took picture with homeless people holding the sign. Didn't give them anything. Just had them hold her sign and take a picture with her. She posted all of the photos on Facebook, 10-15 pics, with this huge paragraph saying how fulfilling it was to see smiles on their faces when she told them she loved them. Suari. Thinking about it now as an adult, she probably had to pay them to take pictures with her, because who would want to just do that? It feels like she was using them as a prop. She was always one of those people who went above and beyond to try and make people think she was this humanitarian and this amazing person. If you have to try so hard to make people believe you are a great person, then you are most likely terrible, lol. Faking pregnancy. People with more than one article of clothing with a political statement, and I don't care which side. Still a joke. Honking at someone as soon as the light turns green and then dangerously cutting them off cause they weren't moving fast enough. Is it really worth 5 seconds of your life to get that fed up? Hating a group of people without a reason. People that calculate tip to the penny. I dated a woman years ago. Her dad carried the tip card with the 15% and 20% tips for common amounts. And he always rounded down. Walking your dog without a leash when you might encounter other dogs. Any variation of princess, queen, or daddy's girl on license plates. I'm not homophobic, I'm not racist, but it's nice that all you can see are the possible flaws in someone. Maybe they might in fact not be racist, but are going to make a comment that sounds borderline, but are going to explain themselves. And you are taking life too serious? People that drive all the way to the front of a lane just before it's ending and force their way into merge at the front of the line rather than starting to merge back when you first notice the lane is ending soon and waiting your turn like everyone else. I'm the guy doing my best to not let you in when I see that happening because you're a prick. Edit. Turns out this is called zipper merging and is recommended on the highway. I guess I was accidentally being a prick by not wanting to let people in? Being the person in a debate that only argues to hear themselves talk rather than absorb valid points that may sway their mind. If you aren't willing to have your mind changed, you are arguing, not debating. Mouth. It screams everything. Calling people entitled because they suggest you might try some empathy. Littering. Harming animals. Abusing customer service staff. Making noise while chewing food. People who send death threats to people getting cancelled and when they turn out to be innocent they are nowhere to be found. Gossip. It's almost always made up. Or blown way out of proportion. Lying is just as bad. Destruction for the fun of it. Leaving your shopping cart in a handicap space in a parking lot. Throwing cigarette butts out of car window. You're littering, you dumb fuck. Caring more about money and the economy than people's health. Not understanding what they did wrong, refusing to apologize when they were clearly in the wrong, like bullies for instance. Wearing one of those fuck your feelings shirts. It doesn't make you look like an intellectual. It just lets everyone within a 5-mile radius know that you're an insufferable prick and, for some ungodly reason, proud of it. Abusing children and animals. Treating loved ones and strangers alike poorly, especially for power and kicks. Enjoying others' suffering. Littering. Narcissism. If you vote for Trump, you are a terrible person. I will defend anyone's right to vote whoever they want. That's your right. But I think if you do that you are generously, incredibly misinformed, and most likely a terrible person. Who listens to someone say that white supremacists are fine people and says that's my guy. Terrible people do. People who obviously can't read and understand the directions on a slow or stop sign when they drive. Refusing to vaccinate their kids. Being cruel to animals just for the fun of it. Bullying people for being disabled or other things they can't help being. Being rude and nasty to servers. Parking in the handicapped space when they are not actually handicapped. Not physically. Anyway. Finding it impossible to take a piece of trash and put it in a trash can instead of leaving it on the ground. Abandoning pets on the side of the road or anywhere else. Calling 911 just to play a stupid prank. Leaving your damn shopping cart in the middle of the parking lot. Unless you are legitimately disabled. People who don't put their shopping carts back into the car or just leave them in a parking spot instead. The use of neopronouns. Believing in QAnon. Waving guns at protesters. The list goes on. Make offensive jokes and then getting mad at people for being sensitive. Make America great again. I can make fun of you because of my race, I'm rich, I'm a girl, you have terrible clothing. Double quote. Having the fake balls on your truck or anything with a Confederate flag. Compulsive liar. Lies about random things for no reason. When you use the phone to record a video of an accident that has happened in front of you instead of calling an ambulance. Hating someone for no reason. I've hated people based off of gut reactions, creepy vibes, or obvious negative reactions from my animals. I don't usually outwardly show it though. Am I a jerk? Or do you mean a more generalized hatred? People that don't like animals. Yeah. I'm an animal lover and so I am biased. But by not liking animals I mean people that are cold, indifferent, And don't even say hi or pat them on the head kind of people. They are super sus.